Greetings and welcome back to the Chamber Video Luncheon election series. My name is Ed Collari. I'm president of the Alexander City Chamber of Commerce. I'm very honored to be joined by Mr. Garland Gamble, who's candidate for District 1 on the City Council in Alexander City. Appreciate his time and him joining us today. To give you a little bit of background on the election series, this was just an opportunity we thought would be beneficial to the community, the citizens of Alexander City, to get a little behind the scenes, get to know those folks who are running for elected positions with the election coming up on Tuesday, August 25th. To let you know, we did provide the questions in advance so the candidates had an opportunity to share with folks in the community what they wanted to know, and we opened up this opportunity to all qualified candidates running for elected positions in Alexander City. Before we continue with Mr. Gamble, I did want to take a moment to recognize our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor of the Chamber Video Luncheon election series, County Commissioner Steve Robinson, District 2. We'd also like to thank our gold sponsors, Buck's Diner, as well as Mr. T.C. Coley, County Commissioner in District 1. Once again, let's welcome in Mr. Garland Gamble, candidate for City Council in District 1. Mr. Gamble, we appreciate your time today. And if you would, maybe share a little bit of background information about you for those folks that don't know you. Maybe your career, how you got to Alexander City, are you from the community, hobbies, family, just things like that.
Yeah. First, I'd like to thank the Chambers and all those involved in bringing us on board. I would like to give you a fist bump or a handshake.
We can do a fist bump.
We'll do a fist bump, okay. Again, thank you all for inviting us. I think this is one opportunity to not only introduce myself to you in the Chambers, but also those who are potentially supporters and voters in District 1, and not only that, the city at large. Again, my name is Garland Gamble. I'm a product of Alexander City. I was born and reared here. I am the third of 6 siblings, mother and father, Wading and Lugene Gamble. Pretty much lived here all my life. I had an opportunity to go to the University of Alabama, somebody say Roll Tide, and played a little football up there up under Coach Bryant. But upon returning here, I married my high school sweetheart, Miss Brenda, from which we have 2 young ladies, Miranda and Tamara, and from that we have 4 young granddaughters, which keeps me very, very busy. Been here all my life. I've grew up in this community. Have always positioned myself to try to be in a place to help others. That's just my calling in life, to be able to help others at whatever level that might be. I really had the opportunity as an athlete, as I said, to get a scholarship, actually first to Tennessee, Jefferson City, Tennessee, Carson College, and then transferred back down to the University of Alabama. Had a wonderful experience at both places. But when I returned home, I had a choice of whether to stay here or leave and go elsewhere and try to make a living. I had some special interests here. Miss Brenda was here, and at that time, and also I had a young daughter, Miranda. She was born at that time. So I spent my time here working out at the Russell Corporation. Worked there for 20 some odd years. Worked in management for probably 11, 12 of those years in supervision. The rest of them. I also had an opportunity to be elected, to the 1st District. In 1984, I was elected city councilman in 1984, re-elected in 88, and re-elected for a 3rd time in 92. I was blessed during that time also to be involved with the race for the county commission, and was fortunate enough to be elected as the first African American to be elected to that office in 1994. From that, I springboard to into the political arena. Spent the majority of my adult life working in politics, working in the community. Again, that's my passion, that's my heart, working where there's a need. The one thing you may or may not know, that I'm a minister of the gospel, and a part of my teaching is that the Bible says you always have with you the poor, and which tells me there's always a field of work. There's always a need out there to be met, and I try to live my life accordingly, trying to meet the needs of others, and by doing so, I feel like God meets my need. that's the short version of me. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about me, but that's pretty much it, Ed. Again, I appreciate you all opening the door for this dialogue.
Sure, and you kind of hit on it in that first answer, but you're a candidate now for City Council in District 1 with the election coming up on August 25th. What is your motivation, I guess, at this time for running for office?
I think I threw it in there in my introduction. It's Jalea, Talon, Saylor, and Cameron. Those are the name of my 4 granddaughters.
Okay.
And when you look for motivation, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have to look any farther than them. They have been my motivation for ever since they came into this world, to strive, to want to be better, want to do better, because it's not. I feel like it's not what I do for me, but it's what I do for them, leaving something for them, a legacy, something that they can grab a hold to. So they don't have to fight the fights I fought. Yeah, I think it's a sad commentary if your kids fight the same struggle that you fight,
Right.
And so that's why when you say motivation, they are my motivation, to make sure that when they grow up, they have a place that they can call home, a place that they can raise their family, a place that they can feel safe and secure, a place that they can be proud of, like I've been proud of.
Yeah, good. If you are elected, what are couple, 2 or 3 of the top goals that you kind of look forward to over the next 4 years serving the community on City Council?
Okay. That's a great question. Actually, I was a candidate for mayor in 2012. And as a part of that candidacy, I had a platform that I call Vision 2020. And a part of that vision, I had outlined several goals for that particular time span. I'll share with you 3 of those goals. And
Sure.
First and foremost, when you say accomplish, first and foremost, we have the issue. I say an issue. It's not an issue with some. It's a project for some. But when the city purchased the new facility right up the road from here, that brought about a lot of discussion, a lot of division within the business community, within people in the street. If elected, I would love to make sure that we utilize that facility to its fullest potential. That particular amount of money that we're spending for that facility eats up a good bit of the annual budget for the city. And in doing so, I think as stewards of public funds, we also have to be stewards of public trust. And I would like to gain the trust of the citizen of this city and this district to understand that whether you approve of it or disapprove of it, we're here. That's water up under the bridge. Let's make the best of the situation. That facility has a lot of potential to it. And it can be the gym within this city when people are riding up and down 280 to look across and say, that's something we can be proud of. That's our city hall.
Right.
That's one of the things I want to make sure that the citizen get the bang for their buck, because I won't be paying for it, you won't be paying for it, but the citizen will be paying for that. And so I think we owe that to them as stewards of public funds, public monies. Another thing that's dear to my heart is the Cooper Community Center and the Stevens Elementary School. They are probably a part of a conversation of what to do with these facilities in the future, because with the talk and planning of building a new high school, it's just a matter of attrition that something has to give. Those 2 facilities probably being older facilities, which I was a part of them being renovated back in the 90s before I left the city council. But I would like to make sure that the future of those 2 facilities are secure. And what I mean by secure, that they are just not left to fend on their own, that there are people like myself and others who feel like those facilities mean a lot to the community, which they do. I grew up directly behind Stevens School, and allowing that facility to go down or even being demolished, I don't think is helpful to the community particularly District 1 and District 2, nor helpful for the city. So I would like to be a part of the conversation of what do we do with this facility, how are we going to fund those efforts, and we can take a situation and really utilize that facility to the greater good of the citizens as a whole, and like I said, more particular District 1 and 2, since it sits in the middle of those two districts. So that's number two. Number three, with the environment that we're dealing with now, if you don't mind if I call you Ed.
Yeah, of course.
With the environment we're dealing with now, the conversation seems to be centered around police brutality, police abuse, things of that nature. We're in the midst of a movement across the nation from things that have happened, and not to try to side with either one, but to look for a solution. As far as this city, I have a part of my platform for the 2020 vision was the creation of a citizen advisory board. And what this advisory board would do, and let me tell you what it would not do, it would not provide oversight, it will provide insight. I think it would be a good opportunity now to be proactive instead of reactive, to bring together people within this community, to sit down with the people in the police department, the local government, the mayor, and others, to sit down and start strategizing about potential issues that might arise within this community. A few years ago, we had a potential to have a powder keg here with police shooting, but I think if we work together as a community, if we sit down and if we formulate ideas, I want to hear from the police department. I want the police department to hear from me and the citizen, and we can all sit down and come together and strategize about what do we do in this situation? What should be our protocol in this situation? Who do we call here and who do we call there in certain situation? I would be very, very naive to sit here and say that, all things are equal across the board, because they're not. They're not. I would also be naive to think that, one person could change that. But what I'm not naive about is that working together, we can find a solution to just about any problem. And not that we have a problem, but I don't want to be reactive to anything as a city councilman nor a citizen within the city. So I think it would be a good idea to sit down and have that conversation about a citizen advisory board to provide insight. There are things that happen within my community that don't happen in other communities.
Right.
I'm trying to find a kind word to describe it, but their reactions, Ed, to the police officer or police as a whole, that only happen with people within the African American community,
sure,
or the brown community, and how the responding officer respond to that is very important, because if there's a negative response, someone may not go home.
Right.
Either one of them. But if that response is a response of understanding that, I understand why you feel the way you feel, I understand why you're acting the way you're acting, so let's try to resolve that issue, rather than every time my encounter with you involves handcuffs and arrest. I truly believe there's a lot of situations that all that's needed is just two people talking,
right?
And two people trying to understand one another. So Citizen Advisory Committee would be a proactive committee that would work towards those ends. So to just put it in a nutshell, number one would be City Hall, number two would be securing the future of Stevens and Cooper, and number three, the creation of this advisory board.
Very good. Mm-hmm. As someone who's from Alex City, been pretty much embedded in the community, when you look at our community as a whole, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that we face kind of moving forward?
I think we've all been caught by surprise. 2020 has been a very exciting year.
That's one word for it.
For us, not only just us, but the whole world, across the board. We're entering into a time that we've never been before. we've got to be not only proactive, we've got to be very imaginative. We got to think outside the box going forward, because the new norm is just that. It's the new norm. I don't think we'll ever go back to what we're used to, even though we'll try to. It's just human nature to want to do what's comfortable.
Right.
And I think we're beyond that point now. As a city government, as citizens, as a city, as a state, as a whole, we've got to be able to think outside the box and realize that we can't go back to what we used to. When it comes to business, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to those things that was just a matter of just sitting down and signing a piece of paper. Those things are not going to happen anymore, because with this new norm, everything is tied to something else. And so every decision made at City Hall has to be understood that there's a ripple effect. Someone is going to be affected by this. Some are going to be affected positive, some are going to be affected negative. So rather than just write the negative off, let's understand that and let's welcome that and say, how can we deal with this once this arises?
Yeah. So
the challenge is basically the challenge. Captain Kirk said this, we're entering into new frontiers. So, I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah.
But I welcome the challenge.
I got you. On the flip side, then, when you look at our community as a whole, what do you think are some of the assets that we can kind of lean on or utilize as we go forward for the benefit of the citizens of Alexander City?
I think you answered the question yourself. My philosophy in government is governing from the bottom up. And when you ask the question of what is, I feel like our greatest assets, my answer to that is people. People.
Yep.
Because the success of this city, the success of this nation, the success of the state, it all begins and ends with the people. You can't, as a municipality, you can't outdo your people. The level of success of your people is going to be parallel to the level of success of your city. If you go into certain segments of this nation and you look at the livelihood of the people, it almost is going to mirror, the governing bodies and how they govern. So when I say the greatest asset is people, I want the citizens to understand that in from the foundation of this particular city, we've endured some very tough times. Two in particular, when the Great Depression came. Alexander City survived the Great Depression not because of machinery, not because of some great invention. It survived because of the people and the resiliency of those people who wanted to continue to see this city be a city. If we fast forward into the fire that burned down downtown, it could have been very easily to just move and go to somewhere else and start life somewhere else. But the people rebuilt here. And it was the people who done that. It was the people coming together and understanding this is our home and we protect our home at all costs. And I think going forward, it's also going to be the people. And when I say people, governing from the bottom up, it includes every individual in this city. I'm a strong believer that, as the saying say that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Right.
We must identify that weak link, because we can be successful on one end, but if we're not successful on this end, sooner or later, this is going to cost all our success. So if we govern from the bottom up, the least, the less, and the laws, we've covered our basic, and we build a great foundation. Yeah. On a great foundation. You can build anything on a great foundation. So it's where we start, and I think we start with the people, and that might be to some vague and a simple answer, but the people who I'm speaking of are the disenfranchised people, those that are underserved and those that are underrepresented, because we have to understand that those people, just like machinery and just like equipment, they have to be developed. I was a part of the trade school, which is no longer here, and I think that was one of the greatest educational tools that we had, because what it said was that everyone is not going to go to college, everyone is not going to matriculate into a 4-year school and come back with a degree in business or whatever. But everyone has an opportunity to do something. Some people, it was electrical stuff, some plumbing, and some things of that sort. Because you're going to need those, especially if you're expecting your city to grow. You're going to need all those trades, and we got away from that. And I think that has cost us in the long run. I don't think we're too far gone, because I do hear conversation every now and then about the trades. Yeah. And Tuscaloosa is doing a great job with that, because they've realized that we've got to have those trades. Someone's got to be in those skilled positions. So developing your people, and being accountable to your people, and making sure they have the opportunities that they need to push this city forward from the bottom up, building that solid foundation. So as far as assets, I think within a nutshell, that's where we have to be. Develop our people, take full advantage of them, make sure they have the opportunity they need to be a viable part of what we're trying to do going forward.
Agreed. Great answer. You mentioned earlier you had served a few terms on city council as well as county commissioner. Looking back on that time in public office, is there an accomplishment or two that you were able to push through or to meet the finish line that you're pretty proud of looking back at it now?
As I mentioned, I was the first African American to be elected to that position within a century. I think one of my main goals of being on the county commission was to prove myself worthy to be there. Yeah. That I was not just a token person, that not only was I capable, not only was I willing, but I done what I believe was a great job in that position. That was a personal accomplishment. But as far as maybe a political accomplishment, one of the things we were able to do is the infrastructure of the county roads. District 1 is actually District 6 at that time, because we created an extra district to fulfill the consent decree from the federal government. We was up under a consent decree to elect a minority. So we went from a 5-member district to a 6-member district for a one-term event. Then we went back to a 5-member by creating a minority majority district, one minority majority district. So at that particular time, the county roads were county roads. I mean, they were no more the pig trails. And I happened to live on the far end of the city, which is part of the county road system. So before I left, every road within that road system was paved. That was one great accomplishment I feel really proud of. Probably more than anything else, I was told when I came into politics that it was better to leave politics with a good name than it is to come into politics with a good name. So hopefully I left with as good of a name as I did when I came in. So that meant a lot to me. Yeah. Not to have to spend 4 years in any type of scandal. I served with some very, very good individuals, Gerald McGill, Mr. Allen, some very good gentlemen that helped me and understood that I was a young guy just trying to do something good for my community. And they sort of took me by the hand and sort of walked me through. These were 25-year veterans that really helped me. So I know for a county position, that doesn't sound like much, but the district within itself, probably 80% of the district was within the city. So from that perspective, there was little infrastructure work that needed to be done. Yeah. But I did do what was available for me to do.
I got you. Mm-hmm. I know we've covered a wide variety of topics, and we really appreciate your time today. Anything else that you would like to hit on or let the folks in District 1 know about you prior to the election coming up on August 25th?
I'm the young man who came on the scene back in the 80s, feeling like he could make a difference in this city. I'm the person who have worked feverishly to do just that, not only as a city councilman, not only as a commissioner, but if you looked at my background, I cover a whole array of different positions, committees, and such. I've worn many, many hats. But I've worn all those hats with one thing in mind, is that I'm going to serve the people that elected me to the best of my ability. I'm going to serve them with three things. I'm going to serve them with integrity, I'm going to serve them with honesty, and I'm going to serve the people that elected me with transparency. And that's what I want the people to understand. You know, you get what you see here in Garland Gamble. You get a hard worker. You get someone that's going to go the last mile to make sure whatever your request is fulfilled to the best of my ability. I won't mislead my potential people in saying that I can do everything, because I know that I can't. But if it's a possibility for it to be done, Garland Gamble is going to put forth all the effort to make sure that happens. With all that being said, I want to also remind District 1 and District 2, as well as the rest of the city, that we are in the middle of a census count.
Yep.
And it's very, very important that we get those census ballots back, simply because of what all it means to this city going forward, as far as, you know, finances and needs that we have receiving funds from the federal level. So even if you don't consider voting for Garland Gamble, do fill out that census form and get it back in. But just in case you want to vote for Garland Gamble, I do encourage you to go out on August the 25th and cast your ballot for Garland Gamble, City Council District 1. I'm a 3-term city councilman, 1-term county commission. I don't want to feel like I have to explain myself or reinvent myself, because I like to think that I've proven myself to this community that I am one that you can trust. I am one that's going to get the job done. And I do want to say this, you know, because it just so happened that the current council person is a very good friend of mine. Mr. Bobby Tapley is a very fine man, a very good friend of mine. It just so happened that, you know, there's two of us, but there's only one spot. And I'll be honest with you and say, if I wasn't elected, you know, Bobby has represented me the last 8 years. I would have no problem with that. But I will say I want to be elected. You know, I want to be elected because I feel like I offer a unique experience to the city council. 12 years, 14 years of city council, 4 years county commission. My involvement in this community have covered everywhere from all the way from the youth all the way up until the elderly. I've worked in every arena to be worked in. I've served on probably every board to be served on. So the experience is there and the willingness is there. All I need is your vote. So people in District 1, please consider Garland Gamble August 25th for your next city councilman. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your time, Mr. Gamble. Thank you for joining us. And once again, that's Mr. Garland Gamble, candidate for City Council in District 1, joining us on the Chamber Video Luncheon election series. Once again, my name is Ed Collari. I'm president of the Alexander City Chamber of Commerce. We do appreciate you joining us. We'll be back with more on the Chamber Video Luncheon election series. Did want to give a shout out to our sponsors one more time. Of course, the presenting sponsor of this video series, Mr. Steve Robinson, County Commissioner in District 2. Also like to thank our gold sponsors, Buck's Diner, as well as Mr. T.C. Coley, County Commissioner in District 1. Thanks again to all those for tuning in and for your interest in staying informed on the community. Once again, a friendly reminder, the election comes up on Tuesday, August 25th, so get out and vote, and as Mr. Gamble mentioned, go ahead and fill those censuses out as well. Thanks again for your time, everybody. Have a great day.